he's had such a good sense of timing. Like the one time I did jump, I don't know how he did this. It's like The Thing, in that where they're trying to figure out who the monster is, and Kurt Russell is talking like, "And you're next," and then have you ever seen The Thing with Kurt Russell?
I have.
Anyway, it's one of those scenes where Jesus, I'm on a movie podcast. He hasn't seen The Thing.
Welcome to A Cast with No Name. We're your hosts. I'm Jay.
And I'm Matt.
This is episode 72. This episode, we make a deal for all the fame and fortune in the world as we review and discuss the new Mike Flanagan limited series, The Fall of the House of Usher. But first, don't forget to visit our website, acastwithnoname.com, where you can listen to our entire episode library. We are also on Spotify and Apple and YouTube and anywhere else you would get your podcast. And thank you for listening. If you like us, leave a like, leave a comment, reach out to us, whatever you need.
Yeah, with our 80 views.
80
in YouTube.
Tens of views.
Someone's bound to comment on that, right?
But, yeah.
Fall of the House of Usher.
Yes.
So me and you are Mike Flanagan fans.
Yes.
I like to think.
Yes.
And it seems like he's turning these out every year.
Yes.
Has he got a Netflix deal?
No.
Is that what this is?
Actually, he did, but
is he done?
This is his final one. So he has he is a partner at a production company, and his production company just signed a deal with Amazon, I believe. So probably, I think for the next 5 years or next 5 projects or something like that, he'll be doing stuff for Amazon.
Is that why he poached some Amazon actors and actresses from Reacher?
Possibly.
Makes sense.
Didn't even think about that, but yeah. So he'll be doing stuff for Amazon. With all of his next projects.
And last year, Midnight Club came out. It's called the Midnight Club, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. We didn't finish it because it wasn't made for us, but
yeah. So I finished the first season, and
you did.
Yeah. Netflix didn't even finish it because they canceled it after the first season. But I think it was more teen.
Yeah.
Oriented.
I don't know if that's a strong suit. Writing a show centered around teens.
Yeah, I like the idea behind it, like having just standalone bottle episodes of individual stories, and then you could kind of have like a overarching story throughout that doesn't have to do with the individual stories. But yeah, I don't know. It felt too much like they didn't feel like real characters.
Yeah, and I think one of the main issue is he does a really good job of fleshing out characters. And the thing with kids is there's not a lot of depth to flesh out because they're just not, the life experiences.
Yeah,
in there.
they're not deep yet.
So when they start to pontificate or they have deep thoughts, it just feels forced and fake. Oh, this is something that will come out of a 60-year-old's mouth, not a 16-year-old's mouth, or you know what I mean?
Yeah. It's like the Dawson Creek thing where I think you brought it up. It's I write how kids want to sound when they speak.
Yeah, that's how they want to sound. What really? That's how kids want to sound.
Well, they want to sound important and intelligent, and like what they're saying actually matters. Which at the time in their mind it probably does, but
I really don't think that's what kids are concerned about.
I don't know. I would disagree with that. I think most high schoolers will probably say something thinking that it's deep, but it just fucking isn't. Like they may think it is, and their friends may think, oh yeah, that's deep, and oh yeah, it's so right. Oh yeah, it's like your early years of college, and so most people have probably gone to college at some point. If you haven't, let me illuminate you. You go to college and you got to protest about something. Whatever like when I went, it was the Iraq War. So everyone was protesting against that, and they would do slam poetry or whatever dumb shit. And they thought that they were changing the world. No, you're not. You're preaching to the choir, and you're not doing anything. Yeah. But everyone thinks that they're so informed and cosmopolitan and just have these views that are just so transcendent
that no one's ever thought of before.
That no one's ever thought of before because they took their introductory to philosophy class last semester.
Have you ever thought about what happened before the Big Bang? It's like, yes, you're not the only person to ever think of that before. We've been trying to figure this out since the dawn of man. So.
There's fields of people just doing nothing but thinking about that shit.
Exactly. Yeah. So anyway, that was the Midnight Club, but the one before that, Midnight Mass, me and you just absolutely think it's one of the best things ever made.
It's the bee's knees.
It's very good. So that's what I was trying. That was the bar that I was looking for here. That's what I was reviewing it towards or against.
Okay.
So
I was thinking about, because and we're going to be talking about spoilers in this, so we can kind of do first impressions, but while I was watching this, I was thinking it would be tough, like, because this isn't my favorite Mike Flanagan thing, but I look at it as Pixar in the 90s and 2000s, to where, oh yeah, that wasn't a good Pixar movie, but it's still a really good movie.
Sure.
Kind of, I mean, compared to other, but you're comparing it to each other. And Mike Flanagan, I feel like, is another one of those people for me, to where even the things that I don't necessarily may like Midnight Club, is still better than a lot of other crap that is being pumped out elsewhere. I
can agree with that.
But same thing. Like Midnight Mass and The Haunting of Hill House are up there, and that's a similar thing. I kind of compare it to his other works or whatever, which
it's a good thing.
May or may not be fair, because I mean,
he
had like 15 years to do. 10 years to do Midnight Mass.
I will say I like the idea of this show. It's very interesting.
Yeah.
I understand what he was trying to do with it. And I thought it was a very interesting approach, because you can't, and a lot of the times Hollywood does that, where they try to adapt like an Edgar Allan Poe, like a poem or a short story. There's not enough meat on the bones, so you try to make a 2-hour movie out of that, or maybe even a show, and it doesn't work because there's not enough there. I like how he incorporated pretty much, not all of his work obviously, but a lot of his work pulled
a lot of influences
into each episode, which
kind
was
of
pretty
put
nice.
It in
there.
Yeah. Let's do first impressions really quick, and then we can go balls deep.
Sure.
New name of the podcast. Going balls deep.
Oh, jeez.
With Matt and Jay.
Probably get more views.
Probably. we have a very specific demographic that listens to us for some reason. But I guess overall first impressions. You go first. What'd you think?
I thought it was solid. Not quite to the level of Haunting of Hill House or Midnight Mass, but I thought it was solid. The performances were great. I mean, I told you I thought the Bruce Greenwood, I like Oscar-worthy stuff, especially that last episode. But the interaction with him and Dupont, that I could take that. You know, I love Quentin Tarantino and dialogue. So if I like the characters and the performances done well by really, really good actors, I could watch that like any day of the week. I love it. So. Yeah, very solid, good. Of course, you know, it's a Mike Flanagan show, so it looks like a Mike Flanagan show. The music in it's great. Set design, it's all very ominous and sort of creepy. Clean, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Story was good. I liked how they interacted I liked how each episode was dedicated to a kid and a little background of their story to see how messed up they actually were, and it all kind of tied together at the end there, and solid. Strong recommendation. I enjoyed it.
Okay. I thought it was okay.
Yeah.
I again, the acting I think was phenomenal. Bruce Green. I mean, mainly. I mean, there wasn't any bad acting. There are a couple of characters that I found a little bit one-dimensional or cartoonish at times, and I don't know if that was just because of the character or because some of those. I mean, there was a couple instances where the characters felt cartoonish to where they were played by older actors, but mainly the younger actor and actresses that were playing these characters, it just felt a little off. And I don't know if that was just not necessarily lack of skill on them or what, or just there wasn't much for the character. But the acting across the board, I thought, was phenomenal. The again, like you said, the mood, the technical aspects of it is really well done. You mentioned clean. Like, everything is very precise.
Yes.
I feel like in this show. and intentional. However, I did feel that it was a little too long, and which I'll get into more later. But I think the mystery for me didn't feel as compelling because I knew where it was going about 2 or 3 episodes in, and so therefore that lack of tension throughout the rest of the series. But it is still really well acted. It's still a good story, but yeah, I mean, not his best, but I mean, I would if you like Mike Flanagan, watch it. I didn't. The only Edgar Allan Poe story I read was The Telltale Heart, and I think I read other ones when I was in middle school. But so I think I saw some reviews. People were upset because it's just name only, and he really didn't adapt anything. He just kind of took off pieces, which is fine because I'm not a huge Edgar Allan Poe fan. So don't feel like you need to be familiar with his work to enjoy it. I don't think you do. You just need to. I mean, it's good. It's solid.
Yeah.
It's not bad by any means.
Nope, I agree.
So, but well, let's get into spoilers then, and go watch it. If you haven't seen it already, both recommend it. Yeah, especially during the Halloween season.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah,
it's a lot better than a lot of the other stuff that's on. So
yeah. I know. I was
sure.
thinking today. I was like, all right, what am I going to watch now? Like,
yeah, I know. What's next?
Okay, so getting into spoilers, let's just keep hitting on, I guess, some of the good things that you liked, if it is spoiler or whatever direction you want to take it. I don't care.
I think I already mentioned Bruce Greenwood. It really is him and Carla Gugino. She's actually in it. Gugino. Anyway, him and her are like the anchors of it. Like in the final couple episodes, they get a lot of screen time, and I found myself wanting more. Like, why couldn't they have more of that? Like in the first couple episodes, because you mentioned that some of the characters there wasn't much there. Like there wasn't a lot to Perry, the very first kid.
Yeah,
he was kind of. You know, that probably goes with the territory of the characters. They're just a bunch of rich kids that have no depth, and there's just not a lot there. Like, you know what I mean? I have daddy issues. Welcome to a majority of people. You know, they probably have daddy issues.
Yeah, and I have a list of characters that I feel were complete, and then I have some that felt cartoony, like Perry, Juno, the wife. And Camille, who was played by Mike Flanagan's wife.
Crystal Balint? Wait, no. That's Morella.
No,
sorry.
It's, Jesus. If I could,
Katie Siegel, yeah.
Katie Siegel.
Yeah.
I have 20,000 names in front of me, and
I
I can't find it. She's a really good actress. But it's not necessarily her acting that felt cartoonish. It's just, I'm the spin person, and I spin things, and it just felt very one dimensional as far as the character.
Right. You think it'd be a little more subtle.
Something.
It did seem a little over the top.
Yeah, and I feel like maybe if she was a little bit more, because she's incredibly intelligent, I feel like she would have been a lot more calculating and
she would have
more composed,
more tact.
Yes, because she is in. Right. Public relations, so I feel like she should be able to handle people very, very well instead of just like ramrodding down people's throats what she thinks needs to be done. And then, but 2 characters I felt complete, but also kind of cartoony was Pym.
Mark
played by Mark Hamill, which he did great. I really liked his acting in this. I mean, part of him felt like, okay, yeah, there's more to this guy, like when they kind of expounded on his backstory a little bit with that transcontinental show that he was a part of. But also at times he just kind of felt like a silhouette goon.
Yeah.
Just like a henchman almost, which more or less he was. But, I mean, I don't know. That's kind of like nitpicking stuff. But the thing that took me out completely was when Juno was telling Lenore, the granddaughter, how her grandfather and her met. And she got so worked up in telling the story that and I was laying in the hospital bed and oh my God, you can help me? Oh my God, how can I blow you? Like, and she had to like stop herself from saying, oh yeah, I offered to blow your grandfather. I'm like, really? Like,
yeah.
And you just got worked up telling the story. You know, you're talking to like a 15-year-old kid or 16, however old she's supposed to be, and his granddaughter, like you forgot you were talking to that person. It's not like you were drunk or at a party or what. I mean, it just felt that interaction felt odd, to where she didn't feel like a real person. Same thing with Perry's stuff, like him hitting on his brother's wife.
Yeah,
and I'm like, I could see that if he was brought up. Again, this is just nitpicky, but I could see if he was brought up his entire life. But they said that they found him when he was 16. Like he was living in poverty up until Roderick Usher found him and brought him into the fold. He was 16, so he had been there for at least like 2.5 years.
Yep.
And I'm like, really? Like,
is that how
long it takes to be
a douche,
a total imbecile, and like not? I mean, maybe, I don't know. I've never been slapped around with like huge amounts of wealth, to where that would change me completely and disregard any kind of decency or self-preservation instincts by hitting on your brother's wife and inviting her to an orgy. Like that it didn't feel, there was nothing before that would make him think that she would be into that. It was just, I got a whim. And he didn't really seem like somebody who could read people very well either. So it just fell out of the blue. But
it did feel like just a mechanism in order to put Henry Thomas's wife at that party, so that it explains his actions in later episodes. Yeah. So, I mean, you're right. I agree.
But again, that's nitpicky stuff.
That stuff, it just isn't interesting to me.
Yeah.
I don't care. It's, whatever. It's fine. I mean, it was a pretty cool way to go out. Yeah. Acid rain, essentially, like killing everybody. That was pretty interesting idea.
Yeah. Because, I mean, you kind of felt like you knew what was coming. Yeah. And they handled that really well, to where everyone's on the dance floor, and then the camera just kind of goes down into the crowd, and like Perry's like lifting up his arms and everything, like waiting for it, and you can almost feel it just in your mind, like how that would feel, just starting to trickle on you. And
I mean, that's one thing I did enjoy about the show. Just the shot selection was just, he's had such a good sense of timing. Like the one time I did jump, I don't know how he did this. It's like the thing in that where they're trying to figure out who the monster is, and Kurt Russell is talking like, "And you're next." And then have you ever seen the thing with Kurt Russell?
I have.
Anyway, it's one of those scenes where, Jesus, I'm on a movie podcast. He hasn't seen the thing. Anyway, so Kurt Russell, he's testing everybody's blood, and you're not expecting like the reaction anyway. It's a nice little jump scare. But he's talking to Dupont, and it's when Tamerlane's episode, her demise, and the way he's panning it, and then all of a sudden like the glass shatters, and he's on the floor, and then Tamerlane comes in. Like the way it was paced was very like, that's what I'm talking about. That's that Mike Flanagan, like ominous, like offbeat shit that you're just not anticipating. He doesn't do it by the book and by the numbers, which I appreciate. Much like when there's just two characters and like there's something in the background, like a silhouette or something. He kind of did that in Perry's episode, where if you're not looking hard enough, you won't notice it. But if you are, it's pretty creepy. Yeah,
and that's why I made a note about that, because Mike Flanagan, like, I'm not a fan of jump scares, but Mike Flanagan uses jump scares, but the way he uses them is very precise, and there's usually a reason for it. And it's not just to scare the audience. A lot of times, so for example, Roderick Usher has a medical condition to where he's developing dementia, and he's getting hallucinations. So
wasn't it called cardiovascular dementia, which I've never...
it's like it was some acronym or something that.
But the whole time I'm thinking, wait, it's a heart problem or is it a mind problem? I guess if blood flow's not going to your brain, I guess you could.
Yeah,
I don't know.
But
I'm not a doctor.
I'm not a doctor of words. But what he'll do is he does a great job of just pulling you into the drama of things. And he doesn't necessarily rely on, because a lot of jump scares, it's like someone's like going through like a dark room and they open up a door and it's like super creaky and there's like no sound and then a cat jumps out of the way. Like, it's something stupid. And
Billy?
Hello?
All right, I'm going to go naked and take a shower.
And then a cat jumps in the frame. They're like, oh, Skittles.
It's very true.
And then they turn around and the killer's there. But in this, he sucks you into the drama or whatever conversation that they're having to where you get so engrossed in the characters. And he did this multiple times with Dupont and Roderick when they were sitting in the chairs talking. It was during Rahul Kohli's Leo Usher.
Yeah.
He's talking and you're like sucked into the drama, and then you just see the body drop in front of him.
Yeah.
But it makes sense. It makes sense to the story. It makes sense for Roderick's character because he's just hallucinating this. And so it scares you as the audience and technically as a jump scare, but it's also because it's scaring that character at the exact same time.
Yeah.
Not and it makes sense for that character to be scared by a jump scare as opposed to random shit happening for the sake of the audience or whatever.
That's true. I didn't even notice that. You see the reaction of him. Mm-hmm. Normally jump scares, it's you don't. Yeah. It's just to frighten you, the audience member. But yeah, it's meant to show you the reaction of Roderick because he's not expecting it. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's true.
But yeah, that's one thing I like. I mean, one of the many things I like about Mike Flanagan. He's very he can do that very well as far as setting up the drama and sucking you in and then scaring you, but doing it in a way that makes sense and there's purpose behind it as opposed to just scaring you.
Yeah. He's very good at foreshadowing too. Mm-hmm. I had no idea what the little jester was. I'm like, what is he? Is he hallucinating a jester? This is weird. And then it comes back around.
Yep.
Why is he staring at the wall? Oh, it makes no sense. I didn't even see that coming.
Really?
No.
Oh, I figured somebody was buried in there.
Oh, I didn't. No.
And I had a feeling it was the boss. I didn't know that they put him in the wall alive, but I had a feeling because, I mean, they go into the bar, I think, in the first episode, and they make reference that they killed somebody. And so I imagined that it was that guy.
There.
But I felt like, I mean, I figured that they, like, shot him or something like that.
Yeah. I did too. Why didn't they? It's kind of
buried him
brutal. It's kind of a brutal way to kill somebody.
Yeah.
Just leave him for dead.
Yeah. Which...
So he died of dehydration, probably? That's how he met his demise?
Yep.
These guys suck.
Yeah.
Jeez, just shoot the guy. I guess they hated his guts, at least Madeline did.
Yeah, and she's another one that felt... I mean, they did a good job with her younger, like when she was a kid. Mm-hmm. Like her always just kind of being that way.
Yeah.
So that kind of made sense. Roderick's turn during the deposition, I felt, was a little...
Wasn't all there.
It out of nowhere.
Yeah.
And
it makes sense.
It didn't lead into it enough. I mean, it's not far-fetched because especially having your sister there in your ear.
Yeah.
But up until that point, you get the feeling that he's just like he wants to do what's right, or you feel like he's not as cold-hearted as a sister. He's more of the human.
Yeah.
He can empathize with people and everything else.
Yeah. Maybe it would have made more sense to have Madeline do that, and then Roderick sort of for him to make that turn, it might take a little bit longer. Mm-hmm. So, Madeline gets the CEO position, blah, 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 pulls Roderick along, and slowly but surely he sort of fades away from family life. And because Annabelle Lee, right, his wife, sweetheart, he obviously loved her. So, yeah, it felt very, very rushed for him to make that heel turn so quick.
And I don't know if it was meant to be, Madeline kind of pulls Roderick's strings. Mm-hmm. That would be more believable, too, to where Roderick is the CEO. He runs the company, but it's Madeline who actually runs the company. Mm-hmm. And it would make more sense if they played on that to where
He's heavily influenced by her.
He's heavily influenced by her. She knows it, but she's just putting him there as kind of like the lightning rod if anything does happen. I feel like that would make sense for her character, and it's not so much to where, oh, well, then you can't have that relationship between those two, because you very well could. You could have her like loving her brother very much, but also kind of, I guess, pulling the strings for him throughout the whole life, because she never wanted to be subservient to anybody, especially a man. She made that point.
I don't need no man.
Don't need no man. But so it just felt odd for Roderick to his character at that time. I feel like to do it because you didn't see enough of his younger self to see that transformation.
Yeah.
Of his moral compass. It would make more sense if he was kind of pushed into doing it by his sister, which could have been what he was trying to imply or something.
Well, and I think you feel that way because the way he's set up as a kid, he definitely feels very compassionate and empathetic, and didn't really have like a nasty bone in his body. To me, it felt like, and obviously Madeline has had from the get-go when we were introduced to her, she's always like that.
Yeah.
There's no like leading up to it. That's just the way she is, and that's how she feels. So that's the first impression you get from Roderick, and for it to turn so fast, and plus he has like a family that loves him. It just doesn't add up all the way.
Yeah, and I the other things that I have in here, like I don't know if it's just the narrative structure of it that I think it could have been better if it was maybe presented just linearly. But I feel like the story is supposed to be a tragedy.
Yeah.
And
well, obviously.
But
everyone dies.
It doesn't feel tragic because everyone's a dickhead in it.
That's true. That's very true.
And there's no, I mean, I feel like it's not necessarily being like it's not like a Twilight Zone, or it's not a cautionary tale. It's
because the overall moral of the story is obvious.
Yeah,
like money isn't everything.
And but I feel like it could have, and because the mystery didn't really hit much for me, because I was like, okay, they made a deal with whoever Carla's character is supposed to be.
Her name is Verna.
Verna,
which is Raven.
Yes.
What's it called? An anagram?
Made a deal with the Raven.
Yeah.
To have all this power, have all this money, with free of consequence. The only thing is all your kids die.
Yeah. Your bloodline.
I don't know. Like the mystery didn't hit for me because I knew she was behind it, obviously, because she started showing up.
Yeah.
And the reason why wasn't very compelling. And you could kind of sense that they made a deal with her, and she's some kind of supernatural character. So the reason behind it wasn't compelling enough. I don't know if it would have been made more sense to change the narrative structure. You could still have the Dupont and Roderick talking at the end of his life, and kind of him just telling the story, but maybe just tell it in a linear way, to where that way then you can see the transformation of Roderick's character more clearly. And maybe, but this would completely redo all the episodes to where each episode kind of wouldn't concentrate on each individual kid, but more of it could just be an 8-episode miniseries of this family, the rise and fall of this family, and their hubris and their lack of compassion, and the choices that they made are the ones that ultimately lead to their downfall. That I feel like would have been a little bit better mystery, to where you could see the deal with the Raven, and then she says your bloodline is for as part of the deal, you're gonna have your bloodline will end, and you can be aware of that throughout the whole story. But then you're like, well, how are these? How do each of the, and they could each be brought down, kind of like a self-fulfilling prophecy. They're each brought down by their own greed or
vanity,
mistrust, or disloyalty, or something, and how it could kind of wrap up, and she could still kind of play a little bit of a role in it, and still give them the outs. And I feel like that, at least for me, because the mystery really wasn't that intriguing, especially about halfway through the series, maybe
Yeah.
could have been a little bit better and maybe give you a little bit more chance to humanize some of these characters.
Do you think they should have? The lesson would have hit more, or would have been more impactful if, like, the kids were genuinely good people, and Roderick would have been more devastated if, like, he genuinely loved every one of them because they were actually really, really good people. And him knowing that, oh shit, I made this deal with the devil after, like, the first kid dies, and then the next one he's like, what's going on here? Like, this prophecy or this deal I made with my sister all those years ago is actually coming true, and kind of dove into that because you're right, they're all like the worst people.
Yeah.
So when they die, you don't really. There's no like, except for Lenore. That was actually a very good scene. I like that.
Yeah.
When Lenore had to go.
Yeah, and she just straight up kills her.
Yeah, I know. Like, what's the point?
And I think maybe, but doing that, you wouldn't even necessarily would have to feel for each of those kids. The kids could still be assholes and still die the same way. It's just then you're feeling for Bruce Greenwood's character, and that's why you want him to succeed. So I think that would have been a little bit better if they kind of went that route. Had it in order, you could have, yeah, sure, showed that these kids had different sides to them other than them just being greedy bastards. But I think the emotional point or the emotional beats would have paid off with Bruce Greenwood at some point then thinking, okay, like if he kind of like almost figured it out and then he tried to stop the next ones. Like he tried to make his kids be better.
Yeah.
He tried to, and even his own interference with that is what brings more death. To where I feel like that would have been a little bit more interesting, to where there was nothing that he could literally do to stop this from happening. And the fact that, yeah, he had all this power and he was happy with himself. And when he was younger and he made this deal, he was perfectly fine with it. But then he grows to realize that that's his overall biggest regret. And then the key part would be with his granddaughter dying. And I feel like that would have paid off more, because then the characters would have, I felt like, learned something. Or at least one character would have. And as opposed to making a deal and then they walk out of the bar and they just kind of, forgot it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, it's kind of a dick move too. Like, I mean, I don't know. I mean, yeah, it was their decision that they made, but I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think narrative done a little bit differently, I think would have just redo the story.
Yeah. Well, no, I kind of understand maybe why they made them all pricks, because then you're not too attached, and yeah, sure, I hope they die in an awful way, and you're not going to feel emotionally different about it or one way or the other. It's like, fine.
Yeah, and maybe that's why, and I don't know. I feel there's no character to connect to except for like Dupont. But he isn't a major. I mean, he's a major part of the story, but you're not put in his shoes that much. You're put in Bruce Greenwood's shoes more than anything.
I think they want the audience to relate to Bruce Greenwood.
Yeah, and if that in that sense, then I think there should have been some kind of. I mean, he had a little bit. You could tell he wasn't happy with it, and it was kind of hitting home. Oh yeah, all my kids died, but he was still himself, kind of like, you get what I'm saying. He's still his old character. Yeah, but
they did have a nice scene where Annabelle Lee ends up shooting herself because he took their kids away, just bribed them with money for the most part. That was a good scene because I think that's where he realized that maybe he made the wrong decision. He had a good thing going and he kind of just ruined it. Yeah, sad. I'm telling you, Bruce Greenwood killed it. Yeah, he was awesome.
No, yeah, I mean, everyone.
If you're gonna watch this for anything, I mean, he's fantastic.
Yeah. Bruce Greenwood. I feel like the Malcolm Goodwin, same kind of character he played in Reacher. He plays the young Dupont, and I just like him. But Henry Thomas, played a good slimy little
Yeah, he did.
character. I liked him.
When he's on coke, he very good.
Yeah.
You think he? He's like, it's my research going back when I grew up in Hollywood. This is how I used to act.
You're 15 years old and you just got done doing E.T.
Yes.
Willa Fitzgerald, who plays the younger Madeline, she did pretty good, also from Reacher.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, Mark Hamill, Carla Gugino.
Gugino.
Yeah. Great role for her. She could play, she had all these different characters and everything. I mean, yeah, the acting was great. Carl Lumbly, who plays the older Dupont.
Awesome.
Yeah.
He was great.
Yeah.
First time I've seen him in anything.
Yeah, the whole thing probably could have just been them talking.
Yes.
And
that would have been fine.
I think it would have been.
That would have been great. Yeah. Yeah, the reveal of Madeline in the basement was kind of, that's probably a negative for me because it was just like, They were like hinting, every episode they were hinting at, who is that downstairs? Madeline? Yes, it's Madeline. I just thought it would have been something different, but it was.
Yeah. And
it was what it was.
And because Christy asked, she's like, did she come back to life because his mother came back to life? And I'm like,
oh, that's a good question. What happened to the mom?
I guess that's who fucking.
They don't really tie that one in.
No.
There's no pretty bow on that one.
Doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah, the Madeline thing was.
I thought she would have been a. I thought the story and I thought it was going to center around Madeline. The first episode, I'm like, oh, Mary McDonald?
Yeah.
Shots with a fist.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Mary McDonald. I thought that she was going to be the one that the story centered around, but she kind of started to slowly fade.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
as the show went along.
And that was the other thing. Like, I felt like the first several episodes focused on each individual kid, and then around, was it Tamerlane's episode and Henry Thomas's episode, I just kind of felt like, yeah, I guess it's kind of them. And like, it didn't feel as flushed out as like, it didn't feel like because like Perry's felt like a separate story, part of a whole.
Yeah.
Same thing with Leo Usher's character, Rahul Kohli, and
Katie Siegel.
Yeah, Katie Siegel's. Those episodes felt like, yes, okay, bottle episode, part of a whole kind of a thing. And then once you start getting to, was it Victorine, and the Telltale Heart, and then Tamerlane and Frederick Usher's episode, it kind of feels like they were adding more outside things into the story. Probably, I don't know if to fill it out or what, but it didn't feel as concise or is a complete story. Yeah, is what the other ones did.
I'd have to say the Telltale Heart episode was probably my favorite one.
Yeah,
just because the ending was, Jesus, gnarly.
Yeah, and
I wasn't expecting that. I knew that she killed her, but I didn't think that she was going to go full blown like schizophrenic and yeah. And Bruce Greenwood's reaction was very good.
Yeah, he killed it. He'll probably get an Emmy for this.
He should.
But I do like how he I like that it was something different, that they tried to do individual stories and then having the overarching story.
Yeah, going back to what I was saying about, like, if you were going to adapt poems or short stories, that this is an interesting way to do it. And I like the fact that it's something a little bit different that hasn't really been... Has it been done before? Like, adapting multiple works in, like, one... I know you're not adapting it, like, word for word, but incorporating different works.
Yeah, incorporating a bunch of different stuff.
Like, you couldn't do that for, like, Stephen King. You can't do, like...
I think they did that.
Salem's Lot with Cujo and Pet Sematary.
Was it Under the Dome? Or... There was something...
on Hulu. Castle Rock.
Castle Rock, yeah.
Is that what I didn't see it.
I think that's what they did. Is that they
course.
Took a bunch of different...
Have they ever done anything? Yeah, they did it last year, you dumbass.
Big Stephen King. She's on a fucking movie podcast. You didn't even watch it.
I think you're right, yeah. Damn. Anyway.
But yeah.
Yeah.
It's
Solid.
yeah, it's fine. I mean, I was entertained. There's like a couple episodes in there that I was just like, all right, well, but I mean, overall, it was I enjoyed it a lot better than the Midnight Club.
Mm-hmm.
I have not seen The Haunting of Bly Manor.
I haven't either.
I kind of want to watch that just because I wonder if it's more similar to
Haunting of Hill House?
Haunting of Hill House or
Probably. It's probably
Midnight
like
Mass.
2.0.
I heard it's not as good as Haunting of Hill House because it's probably something very similar.
Uh-huh.
But
I kind of want to watch Haunted Hill House again because that's a very good show.
yeah,
It's very scary, too.
mm-hmm. And I like how he typically does these longer shots.
Mm-hmm.
And like Haunting of Hill House, he had one episode that was like 4 different shots, and each shot was like 15 minutes long. And then Midnight Mass, he had the shot on the beach in the second episode.
Yeah.
With them walking up and down. But he does it in a way you don't even notice it.
Yeah.
And until you're like, wait, the camera hasn't even cut. Because you're just so engrossed in the dialogue and
Midnight
what's
Mass
happening.
is so good.
I like how he does that in those shows. I'm glad he didn't do that in this show because I feel like it'd be become a shtick or something like that. Shtick, trope for him. But one thing that I did miss is the longer shots from Midnight Mass to where it just kind of the camera pushes in on the characters or talking.
Yeah.
And like Zach Gilford and Katie Siegel in Midnight Mass. I like those moments to where the actor just goes. Didn't have anything like that in this episode. There was like they were cut up a little bit, but no, it's still good. The delivery, the acting is great.
Yeah.
I feel like he's probably one of the better directors for actors.
Easily.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say.
And
you saw Dr. Sleep, didn't you?
yeah. Yep.
That's very good.
That I feel like I kind of need to rewatch because I saw that before I knew who Mike Flanagan was.
Right.
Really.
Yeah.
And I had only seen that because I had seen The Shining. So, but yeah, I kind of feel like I need to watch that again. But that has Rebecca Ferguson in it, so
yeah, it's very good.
Never a bad thing.
No. All right. Well, you recommend it. I recommend it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not his best. I think. I mean, it could have been. I think. Yeah, it was structured differently. I think it would have probably hit harder, and they would have tweaked things to make it kind of have some kind of emotional resonance. Because that's I think that's why I like Midnight Mass and The Haunting of Hill House is like you really cared about those characters, and you felt sorrow for them, and you felt these things to where. This I didn't really feel anything because they were shitty people.
Yeah, I know.
And I feel like it should have because I mean it touched on a lot of social things like current event kind of stuff like pharmaceutical companies and the opioid epidemic and technology or just corporate evilness and I feel like it would have been better to portray these people as, or at least a couple of them, as actual humans that you care about and that you feel sorry for. Lenore is the only one that wasn't a piece of shit, and that kind of hit a little bit when she was in the room, when Verna was in the room, and she walks in there, and you're like, oh, she has to die too.
Yeah.
And the only good one. And that kind of worked.
She did say it gives me no pleasure to do this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so that I kind of enjoyed, but I feel like that maybe concentrate more on her than to make that emotional payoff just hit harder.
Yeah.
It's where you get so invested in this character, and then you're like, oh. And then that way you feel like you're losing a loved one.
Yeah, it's not like the Midnight Mass. That scene where Zach Gilford sacrifices himself on the boat so that he won't hurt anybody, especially Katie Siegel's character. Yeah, man, that scene.
It's so good.
It's very
God,
good.
I gotta watch that again.
It is. Yeah. All right. So you recommend it?
I do.
I do too. There's not a lot of good stuff on Netflix right now, so there you go.
Yep. And
go ahead and watch it.
Yeah, the next movie that Mike Flanagan will be doing is a Stephen King movie. It is titled The Life of Chuck, and it's currently in production, starring Mark Hamill, Tom Hiddleston, Karen Gillan.
Wow, some MCU universe people.
Jacob Tremblay, and
Chiwetel Ejiofor.
We're going to call him Brian. No. What? I don't know.
All these people are in the MCU, except for Mark Hamill. I think Chiwetel Ejiofor was in Doctor Strange. He plays the Cara Gillian, and maybe Jacob Tremblay wasn't. But
no,
anyway.
I think Jacob Tremblay, wasn't he in Iron Man 3?
I have no idea.
No, different. What the hell is he in? Oh, never mind. I'm thinking of somebody totally different.
Who's playing Chuck? Do you think it's Mark Hamill?
I think it could be Mark Hamill and Tom Hiddleston.
Okay. All right.
Because it's about a life-affirming gender-bending, a life-affirming, genre-bending story based on Stephen King's novella about 3 chapters in the life of an ordinary man named Charles Krantz. So my guess would be Jacob Tremblay, Tom Hiddleston, and Mark Hamill all play.
I gotcha.
Varying ages.
You're probably right. You're smart. That makes sense.
Well, deduction.
Well, you're stupid. And
well, step one is you just pull your head out of your ass, and then. All right. Well, anything else on?
Nope. I'm good.
Okay.
I recommend it.
Me too. Join us next time, as we will actually be reading on the show the Book of the Dead.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I see what you did there.
As we review and discuss Sam Raimi's Evil Dead Part 2.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that'll be
looking forward to that.
Yep. That if you're listening to this now, it's we'll probably just release that on the Evil Dead 2 episode on Halloween.
Yes, we will.
So that means when you hear this, this is only 5 days or so after the other previous episodes. So get a little bit more in there in the week. You get us 3 times in a week.
That's good stuff.
Yeah. Oh, for us.
Yes. Yep.
So, all right. Well, till next time, Matt.
Till next time, Jay.